letting the breath fall into the body, and with each exhalation, softening a bit further. Letting everything release. Softening that space between your eyebrows, around your eyes. Letting go of your jaw, sides of your neck. Also the back of your neck, releasing your throat and the base of your tongue. And as you let those go, feel that release your head as though it softens upward. So there's an upward movement of your head, but you're not pushing at all or trying to make your head go up. You're simply letting go of it. This skill, this feeling of lightness as things release upward is often one of these first internal experiences that people find. They'll say, oh yeah, it does make my head lighter. There is this sense of moving upward, even though I'm not pushing it upward. And that experience, then we explore and find through the whole of the rest of the body. Shoulders release, the elbows hang, the wrists, the hands, all the way to the fingers. Letting your chest release any holding that you have going on. Just, you don't push it down. Again, like the shoulders and the neck, you simply let it fall. And let whatever it's holding fall down toward the belly. Your upper back as well opens. The shoulder blades move away from the spine as they soften open, and then they slide down the back to avoid rolling forward. And as they slide down the back, the lower back opens, as though your back is beginning to straighten out a bit. From the rear perspective, it would look like your back is becoming flat, straight. The hips are released. However you're sitting, just let your legs be completely released, soft, connected through. If you decide to sit in this kind of position, this is called a Burmese posture traditionally, this sort of cross-legged position, make certain that you're not sitting in a way that causes pinched nerves or obstructed circulation. You want to sit in such a way that things are always flowing, no sense of numbness, stagnation. And if it does show up like that, just change positions, find something different. I used to sit and just pray that my legs would go numb quick. That was the way I grew up. Not good for the body. And there's no reason for it. You just take your time, find another way through, and then pretty soon sitting is super easy and you can sit for hours. And if you push into it, then your body never actually learns to release through, or it can take an awful lot of time. And so that even these Zen Roshis that I was getting the chance to talk to, or you hear about, they sit and they wait until their legs fall asleep. It's just not good for you, no matter how many decades you put into it. So if you Take the time to soften open, sit correctly, release your body, and allow circulation to establish itself in this position. Then after just a matter of months, maybe years if your body is slow, you'll learn how to sit in this position and simply release. The crown of the head floating up, the spine is free, the shoulders, the arms, the hips, the waist, and very importantly, the breath. All of this is free. While my legs are folded, Chris is asking about the position of my knee. My knee is folded, my elbow's folded right now, but it's not squeezing. I can, I can hold my arm like this for a couple hours, and my arm won't fall asleep. Or I can squeeze it all tight, and then my arm falls asleep in a matter of minutes. And similarly here, you want to find a way to sit, if you choose to sit like this, you don't have to, that allows circulation and free flow. No pinching or tension in the knees, no lack of circulation, no compression of the ankles. Keep everything open, whole and wholesome, healthy and free. It's a theme, you'll notice. So it's a really good question, Chris. Breath is open and free. Just another few breaths. Settling into the present moment as best you can. If you notice your mind being distractible more than some middle point, then continue practicing and sitting until your mind slows down enough for you to enter into this Qigong space with us. If your body's really tight and hard and this sitting is slowly helping you open, then just stay here for a while and wait until your breath slows, your body opens, your mind becomes whatever relatively still looks like for you, and then start practice. And that's a better place to practice from rather than waiting until halfway through the form is is finished and then suddenly you're entering into that soft open state. So I will take my headphones off, but as usual, I want to welcome anybody who might be new to this set. We can't see that you're here unless you put something into the chat box. But if you are new or you're confused about what we're doing, please do look down below the video in the comment section for a link that will take you to an introductory video to teach you the set. And there's also a separate link that gives you a list of all the names and the repetitions of what we're doing, the acupoints associated with them, so you can learn. So both of those are down below. This morning, my YouTube feed popped up a whole bunch of videos describing the positive impact that facial massage gives to your skin. Really, a whole body massage, but most of the people talking about the face. There was a big study that was done and published in PubMed about it, and the impact is huge on a lot of levels, on the very superficial levels, on the spaces in between, in the 6 or 7 layers of skin that are there. A huge amount to that space, the hypodermis, the space just beneath it, to the local circulation, to the local relaxation of the musculature, which is, of course, why people get Botox and things like this. The development of collagen tissues, it's just tremendous. The impacts kept going on and on. Lymphatic drainage, all of the puffiness that people have, the tendencies toward storing stress in the face, because, of course, the skin is, in a way, your most external form of your nervous system. So by constantly soothing and easing these areas, it calms us at a deeper level because it's all one system. And as I was practicing and just the videos were playing in the background, and I kept going, wow, the impacts just locally. And of course, most of these people were talking about the cosmetic impact of it, but they were really tremendous. And so just the local health benefits of doing these practices all over the whole body. But of course, what most people would be interested in is the face, is really fantastic. And so let that be a spur to help you keep practicing. Because of course you can practice this particular set every day for the rest of your life, and it's just generally beneficial. And I wanted to point out some of the important points that we were going over. Of course, the one on the very top of the head, by weight, do 20. Just if you were to draw a straight line up from the top of the ears, that's a very important point in general because all of the yang channels in the body meet at that point. And by stimulating that, it helps to open and wake up the whole body. There's a series of points on the head that are really beneficial in that way. Another one is this point here on the back, that if you were to draw a line upward along those 2 muscles that run on either side of your spine, along your neck, on the outside of that muscle, if this is the right side of my neck, there's a line between this muscle that comes up and this bundle of tendon and structure and tissue. Some of it is called the sternocleidomastoid, the SCM mixture. And so that comes up at an angle and meets back there. And just below that, there's a little space, a little soft spot on either side of the neck. This is do 20, the wind pool. And we allow, as we are scrubbing the back of the head, the thumb and the base of the thumb to move across those points and to help stimulate them. Also the point just lateral to that in the very center of the spine. And then again, as we're rubbing the neck, we have some attention toward moving across those points. Very, very beneficial points in general. And also, today I thought that I would emphasize the stomach channel that's on the body. And it actually starts up here in one of its branches, starts here just below the eyes. Ends on the second toe, for those of you who remember that. So it goes all the way down. Goes through the breast tissue, all the way around the belly. And so the points themselves flow down the face in this way, out to the jaw where we work these points here, by the ear, some points that we work here, sides of the neck, these bundles of tissue that I'm talking about through there, and that actually washes down through the center and down the body, and then down the legs. And so as we are brushing down our body, we have tips of the fingers touching this red channel that runs along the center of the written vessel. Those kidney channels that I talked about yesterday, just off to either side. And if you allow your hands, the base of your hands to touch your body, it will be brushing down the stomach channel. Again, to help everything descend and to sink. And of course, if you have sensitive breast tissue, you might want to be gentle doing that. It's easy for me because I don't have a lot here to run into, but everybody's different. And so please be gentle as we sink down. But do sink everything down through these channels in the face all the way down, and eventually, of course, into the feet. Appreciate how much you've learned. So much. We've come so far. And then, softening open. And I don't remember the name of the study. It was something like, it referenced facial massage. There's a few varieties with various creams, and one was referencing wrinkles. There was more than one. They showed up on PubMed, which is a place where people publish a lot of white papers. But there's a number of them. So if you just do a search, even on Google Scholar, you'll get some good pages that way. People always love to pour money into the aesthetics. A couple of the papers were trying to prove, because now that facial massage is so well recognized as a method for benefiting luster of the face, or however they're choosing to define it, that now becomes the gold standard that people check things against. So they have to do it without facial massage, with facial massage, and then with facial massage with their special cream or their special device to see if it's any better. And so those are usually the people paying for those studies, and so there's a lot of them. But there's a ton of good information about the benefits that are accruing just from this gentle circulatory touch. Easing things open, softening the musculature, increasing circulation, helping the circulation of other fluids like the lymphatic fluids that accumulate. The lymph in the body doesn't have its own circulation system. It relies on movement and touch. And so having ways to help it circulate is really beneficial. That's one of the reasons we spend time here, to help benefit the lymphatic system there. And Chris and I are getting old, coming up on 50 here soon. We have to take care of ourselves. Softening open, easing the body. Gentle, comfortable. Softening through. releasing and releasing. Remember to allow your intent to include this sense of gentleness and kindness, friendliness. Don't just start pushing and pulling in your body. Connect. Make friends. And since today we're talking again about the stomach channel, it's worth mentioning, as I did yesterday, that in one major system, there are channels that they connect two primary channels to become one super channel. They share a kind of flow together. And with the stomach channel, it's the large intestine channel, which we're spending a lot of time on here. And so that's called the Yang Ming, runs all the way down. It's very full of qi and blood, so it's a strong channel to access and benefits the body to work on these points all the time. This channel system has a lot of oomph to it. So as you soften this space here in the center of the clavicle, collarbone, this is interacting with your stomach channel somewhat as it travels down from the neck and through. If we have a number of lymphatic nodes throughout the body, the lymph circulates through the whole body in the way that the blood does, and oxygenation, and the immune system, the hormonal system, all of these work together, and they all function slightly differently. They rely on each other. So you can't have one system break down and have everything else still working. Everything is required for you to be healthy. That's why we can't just leave aspects of ourselves out. We have to heal our whole system. We are a whole person. It's the same problem we're having with our culture and our environment. We're trying to solve single certain problems and we're ignoring other pieces. And so it continues to fall apart and we're confused. We have to heal as a whole people, as a whole species, as an environment, as a community. Everything works together. There are no separate moving pieces. So again, these are large intestine points, 11, 10, 9 here. You don't have to worry about these specific points necessarily, as long as you soften this whole area, help them to open, allowing your awareness to soak into the body. And again, just to notice your own progress, pay attention to see if you're better now at this capacity to feel into your body a bit than you were before. And again, even a 1% change is a really big difference. Having some awareness move into the body where previously there was none is huge, especially from the perspective of chi flow and the capacity to quiet the mind. Your hands continuing to soften, awareness continuing to gather in the palms and the spaces that it's touching. As your hands soften and your awareness is able to move through them and circulation is able to reach your hands easily, this cultivates healthy chi flow from one particular perspective, nutritive chi. And it begins to change how your hands feel. Most people begin to notice that their hands feel more vibrant, alive, tingly, full, warm, sometimes cool. Sometimes people who process things emotionally will say, oh, my hands feel happy. Or very visual people will say, oh, my hands are, pink, or some kind of way of relating to them. It's all just a way of experiencing change. But you may also notice texture changes in your hands. So as the skin in the hands becomes healthy, there's this sense of warmth and fullness, like a plumpness in the skin. The hands often become slightly moist. The Chinese word is ru, which is just, it's this warm fullness, like a baby's skin. This quality of liveliness that reaches through as the circulation doesn't just go through the blood vessels lengthwise, but it also begins to perfuse and absorb, to permeate the skin. Your body becomes full and nourished. And when your skin doesn't have that nourishment, it can start to fade. It becomes dry, brittle, waxen, hard. It's different for everybody. But these are symptoms of the skin and probably as much the nourishment inside not being enough. And so things are just decaying. If you ever have the chance to take an anatomy class where you get to work on a body, a human body who donated themselves to a school, you often get that strange texture to the skin because there's nothing moving anymore. There's a really big difference between live, healthy skin and unhealthy skin. It's very worth exploring. I don't think we did closing. It's been really nice hearing from people actually about all of the various kinds of health benefits that have been showing up as people practice this stuff. And again, it just doesn't feel like something that would affect so many different layers of people's health, but very clearly it does. And so I want to say it out loud and pass that information on to the people who might be listening to this who are just starting, or people who are only coming once in a while and practicing it once a week or something. That might not be enough to make a big difference. And so it really is worth investing the time. This 100 days is a classical way of talking about practice time. You put in a bunch of time, it's enough time for your body to start changing. Less time than that really isn't enough to get the body to change. And so if you're noticing big changes or even small changes and you want them to keep going, so even after the 100 days, you can keep going with this practice and it will keep helping you. Sometimes people's bodies change more slowly, some people's bodies change more quickly, but it is just a wonderful practice. And you can modify it and fit it to your needs and what you are looking for in your system. You can spend more time in your face if that's what's important to you. But do keep up with the practice. Don't wait too many days between each practice set because the effects tend to fade. Our body just goes back to how it was. And this set is one of those that it's hard to overdo. Um, the impact is not infinite. You can't just do it continuously for a year straight and expect the same benefits. But you do want to practice it enough to make a change. So let's also brush down here, just for the sake of connecting with the stomach channel. If this feels awkward for you, again, the breast tissue area can be different on everybody, especially if you're sensitive. So you can always use one hand if that's easier. You're just creating movement down from here. We've already done this a little bit. But find how this sinking down feels, allowing this to settle. And we can also go below the breast tissue. You can use your palms or your fingertips, whatever works for you. Moving toward the point that is just off to either side of the navel here. And the stomach 25. And softening the solar plexus. And I apologize, I will have to end the class about 15 minutes early. I have to go meet somebody. So if there are questions that people come up with beforehand and they want to put them in the chat, then perhaps I can fit them in. It's nice to answer the questions in the form of the class, to make space for it during class and to talk about it. And if it doesn't fit, then I will just put it off until later. Remember that we're emphasizing this settling and sinking quality. Remembering that it's not just the technique that we're using that is helpful, but this ability to transfer the softness from our quiet intent and friendliness, from our soft hands. We transfer it into the tissue that we're working on. This area spreads and softens, becomes quiet. The flowers up here are just exploding with all of this fresh sunlight. A lot of them managed to survive the recent frosts and snow that were so late. And you want your body to open to your touch, the touch of your mind and your hands, like a flower to the sun. There's this sense of spreading open and accepting, receiving nourishment from the sky. And so if you notice this sense of closing and condensing and protecting, then the way through is just this sense of releasing open. Master ZhiCheng talks about it as this feeling of the body effervescing. You like sparkling water. And you look at the sparkling water and it's just sort of it's releasing and fizzing at the top, and there's all of this movement through it. Not just a single bubble moving here or there, but the whole liquid is filled with life and movement. And we want that sense inside, not in an agitated way, but in a sense that it is completely permeated with our awareness and our movement, rather than just being like a hunk of steak that's just sitting there, it's dead. Instead, it becomes this living, fluid aspect of your body-mind. Softening the front of the hip. And then the back. Keeping your shoulders as soft as you're able to. Staying soft, keeping your mind quiet, allowing your awareness to release these tissues. Remember, a huge part of the healing comes from this ability to soften your mind, to not grip your mind and try to force things to change. And I recognize that that is a very difficult step to take when all we know is force with the mind. We don't know what it means to put the mind in neutral, to be fully present and aware, but not trying to do anything or be anything or force a thought or try to make the world do something. Instead, just to be quietly aware. But that's part of the big healing shift that we're looking to uncover through these practices. We're just quietly present, letting the movements happen, friendly, but not trying to force change in our body. And that's very important. In fact, there are lots of practices in Qigong that they're perfectly healthy and healing, safe, even easy to learn. Certain kinds of breath work, building in the Dantian, but only if the mind is peaceful and present, quiet, not trying to push its agenda. And when it is trying to push its agenda and force things to happen, those very simple practices that you find all over the internet suddenly become toxic, destructive. They start to supercharge the emotions or the mind or any kind of addictive behavior or obsessive loops. All of these kinds of things start to happen. And the big difference most of the time isn't in the specific technique, but in the way that the mind is shaping that technique. So just pure, quiet attention of the mind. You're just here. You're not wandering off, you're not daydreaming, you're just watching. Not messing with things, not interfering. And that is a very important skill. If you try to do a lot of these Qigong practices with some sort of intention, with some sort of agenda and a need to control, then what ends up happening is that all that Qi that gets gathered is poured into those illnesses, those tendencies, whether it's greed or obsessiveness or anger or fear, doesn't matter. Whatever that is, that gets supercharged because Qi will just charge whatever's there. And if you're able to approach the practice in this clear, calm, empty state, with the mind soft, then the body gets nourished. Otherwise, all of the Qi gets co-opted and pushed into these unhealthy patterns. And you'll feel it happening, but often it feels so good, the way that being angry can feel very good, that people don't stop. They become addicted. And then we have a new problem. Softening the center of the calf. By the way, just as a reminder, stomach channel travels down, stomach 34, 35, 36, 40, all the way down to the second toe. Just on the outside of the shin. Oops, can't see me. Softening the calf. This point in the calf here, just at that intersection, the V and the gastrocnemius, the bifurcation of the gastrocnemius, is bladder 57. Talked about it a bit yesterday. It is a wonderful point for treating hemorrhoids, if that's an issue that people are troubled by. Let me point the camera down here a little bit. This position that I'm in now is called a half lotus position. Some people like sitting here, but if you do this, then you have to have a flexible seat, and you have to change leg shape once in a while so that you don't develop an uneven posture. As you soften down the anterior tibialis here, you're moving down the stomach channel. And it's fun to perhaps feel a connection between this point here on the second toe and the channel that starts up here at the eye. Same channel. In fact, I have treated red eyes by putting needles down here in the feet. So find these connections throughout your body. Start to understand how your system actually works. Circling your toes. And again, if you feel like taking your time through the last of these practices, feel free to do it. No need to follow my schedule if you already know the form. If you are finishing up with me, then feel free to allow your awareness to accumulate in that space behind your navel. The breath is deep, comfortable, and easy, not because you're forcing it, but because you let it go, you make space. And if you're able to begin to cultivate this capacity to have an awareness that is simply quiet, you're just present, you're just here, not trying to be anything or do anything, you're just here. Without it being covered up with random thoughts and delusions or illusions or ideas, random emotions, just here. That is a very potent quality of the mind to cultivate, and I cannot recommend it enough. And if you're going to continue with the Qigong sequence into further and more advanced methods, then you have to cultivate it. Otherwise, the practices themselves can become a bit dangerous. At least the internal parts of the practices can. So it would be like taking a sledgehammer in while we're trying to do delicate work. Sometimes you need a finer tool. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you coming. Sorry to rush away. I love you all. And I'll see you tomorrow.